A predominantly female workforce in the veterinary industry. That's what we talk about today. I'm Kim, the content marketing specialist for Covetris, and I speak with Dr. Jocelyn Birch Baker. She is an award-winning thought leader, founder, practice owner, and vet. She also has her own consultancy business, Smooth Operating Vets. So according to many of the stats, across the world, Australia, UK, North America, the rest of Asia, between 60 and 80% of the workforce are predominantly female. Now, this wasn't the case before the 1980s. It was predominantly male, but it means that in looking at these surveys and graphs over time, all the things and factors that have contributed to the global veterinary shortage, from COVID, the compounding stress, those that are graduating, it means that because the situation is flipped, where the majority of the workforce is female, there has been no consideration made towards the conflicting role that she has inherited today due to society's expectation of being a mother and being a vet 24/7. That's what makes this episode so fascinating. I think this is the first time we've spoken about the gender gap, and not in the typical way of, oh, it lacks female representation. Of course, the industry is increasingly feminized, but that doesn't mean there is equality, because the structures of the patriarchy still exist. It simply doesn't work for female vets and female nurses. But even if you're not female, and even if you don't have children where you are the primary caretaker, people simply want a better work-life balance, and they deserve that. Jocelyn's fascinating advice, from sharing after hours with another clinic, tag teaming, having contingency plans, and listening more, are really insightful. One of my favorite quotes: when we look at supply and demand, we haven't got a great supply of vets, so we just need to listen to what they actually want. And when we do, they come up with the most amazing answers, dare I say profitable. Young minds are so innovative and put things together really well. We should use this intelligence and abilities, give them the gift of work-life balance. Meanwhile, we let them bring their gifts to us in our clinics. We should value that. So from that quote, I would say it's worthwhile listening to Jocelyn. Let's dive in. Hey Jocelyn, welcome to Pause, Rewind and Play. So we're here today to talk to you about your approach to being a vet yourself. You are a practice owner and founder, but you also have a consultancy business, Smooth Operating Vets. I'd love to know a little bit more about your background, your vocation, what your motivations are. Tell me your story.
Kim. Graduated a very long time ago. And at the time, there was probably 50% women and 50% men coming out of vet school then. And it surprised people to know that I couldn't get a job when I first graduated, even though I wanted to work in regional Queensland, which is a bit surprising. But anyway, I eventually got a job, and then I worked there for a bit, and then I went out into the cattle industry, and I worked in the cattle industry for a while there, and had children. But then when I came back to clinical work in 97, it was really for me to get a job, because that's when it was quite hard to get veterinarians back into clinical space, especially in the rural industries, in the rural areas, rural and regional. So that was great, but I had to do a lot of catching up. I had to get my surgery and my medicine skills all back together again, and I was still looking after my two children. So it was quite an adventure, and I loved it. It was great getting back into clinical, and It was good. And as my children grew up, I worked at different clinics and everyone was very kind to me and helped me with my skills. And I did a couple of Sydney postgrad courses. It was great. And then I've always wanted to have my own practice, and eventually I did, and bought the practice and to learn very quickly how to manage a practice and manage people and work with people. And that's really challenging when you just think, oh, I just got to spay a cat, like I know how to do that, that's fine. So I had to upskill about learning how to work with people, how to listen to them and understand what was important to them and what they actually wanted to do and how that would fit in with the business. So that was really, really great. But because 80% of vets are women now, I don't think I've ever had a male apply to join my practice in the whole time I've had it. So I get lots of women, and all my people here now are vet mums, and most of all my women. And so I thought, what's going on here? And I've had to shape up my business according to how these women can work with me. And that was the same as me. I couldn't work full time when I had my 2 children, even though I would have loved to. It just wasn't going to happen. And that's the same thing as happening with women now. And I really feel that's why they're leaving. So I want to say to practice owners, just be flexible. Just make the job change a little bit so that they can come back in a different way. Mm.
And so do you think your understanding of this dynamic, the years of experience that you've got, and that's why you founded Smooth Operating Vets? Is that something that you felt really passionate about?
Absolutely, because it's not even just in the veterinary profession. I'm seeing it. Both my girls are in the medical profession, and the same thing is, that they don't give space for women to cater for the responsibilities that women have, whether we can say we like it or not, but women have the children. We need space and time to have our children, and we can't be pushed out of our profession and out of the system and out of the knowledge and the skills and the gifts and abilities that we bring to our people, our profession. We need to be brought back and be part of it again. We're just so valuable, and we're finding that now. I mean, pets are incredibly valuable. They're all women. Let's value them and bring them back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I even read in one of your articles that you contributed to in the Vet Practice Mag for Australia. And it's just a different structure, and being able to cater to women where you say they might be the primary caregiver. But even if they're not, even if, we're not bearing children, it really is just everyone is squeezed for time. And this will lead on to the next question, because the global issues around veterinary shortage, and that's visible everywhere around the world for a lot of practices. What do you think is causing this?
Well, I think the COVID situation has obviously brought it to a head. That's just been so traumatic for everybody. But as I said, the whole process has been happening for a long time, and we found it here in Australia, and I'm sure in other countries they found in the rural and regional areas they're not getting the vets. They're not going back out into the country areas. And whenever we read about the vet shortage, we then read about vets are leaving the profession, and then it goes on to say due to factors like stress, poor working conditions, unacceptable hours, inadequate financial and other reward systems, and then the work-life balance. And all of the things are compounded when you add on the actual fact that has not been addressed over the last 40 years, and you'll see it in any of the graphs that you see or any of the workforce surveys that have been done, the huge change in the gender of our profession. As I said, it starts basically 50-50 in my year, 83 I graduated, and now it's up to 80 to 90% of our graduates are women. So before the 1980s, most of the vets were male and they had the primary job. Now, women are the majority of our vets, and there's been no consideration made to the conflicting roles that she has inherited due to our society's expectations of being a mother and the expectations of being a vet 24/7. So this really compounds stresses of working long hours, low pay, poor working condition. And this is what kind of adds up to that poor work-life balance, because you can't be home looking after the children while you're at the clinic. Whereas a man can be at the clinic because he's got a wife at home looking after the children. So we just need to change things up a bit. We need to, give them space, give them some time to be a whole person. And that's not only just for women. I think men are saying, yeah, I'd like to hang out with my kids as well. You know, they're great. They're really important to me. And, or even I want to travel, or I want to do my sport, or I want to do something other than work. I think society wants to change up in that area at the moment as well.
Yeah. So when you say we want to change things up, we have to look at these factors, because you've identified the dirt and now it's cleanup time. How do vets do that? How can practices continue to be profitable but give the work-life balance that they so badly need for their staff and maintain that retention and attrition?
Well, we're certainly profitable, and we've got the 5 vets. That's including me. We all work part-time or casual, and I do a few hours every week to keep my clinical standards up. But yeah, we're profitable. You just got to manage it, and that's what managing is all about. It's changing things. It's listening to your people and actually changing things so that they work differently. You can't just do the same thing over and over and over, because that was profitable 20 years ago. That doesn't mean that's going to be profitable now. So you got to change things. Everything else has changed, like all our equipment, the DR anaesthetic machines. I mean, I worked at practices that had no anaesthetic machines when I first graduated. Like, things have changed. You can't do what we used to do anymore. Yeah. So here at our clinic, we got the 5 vets. We all work very flexibly. We actually ask the vets, what suits you? What hours would you like to work? This is what we need in the clinic. Or what do you think? Could you do this time? And they go, oh, I could do Tuesday. And the other vet goes, oh, I could do Wednesday. And we just work it out together, because they know we need vets in these certain hours, and they work it out with us. So it's a mutual agreement, rather than we say, well, we want this and this and this and this. And if we didn't have the vet mums and work with them, we wouldn't have vets here, because we're regional Queensland. And as I said, I don't get any applicants really. We did have full-time vets, but they've now turned into mum vets. So, you know, that when they're young and come out of uni, they can work as full-timers. So now our mum vets, they've all bought houses in the community. Their children go to school. They're all involved in sports. They're involved in the community. Our clients meet them down the street, or they play sports with them. So it's a really lovely, lovely feeling being part of the community, and they're very settled here. So they stay, and they just build our practice because they're staying here. We work collaboratively together, and we've got fantastic systems in place so that always the care of our patient is paramount, and that's what was always important to all of our people. We pay by the hour, so no one is ever expected to work for nothing. You know, sometimes when vets are on a salary, there's this expectation that, oh, you know, if a dog comes in late, you'll just stay and keep working. I don't think that can be done anymore. I think it's quite right. So we pay the hour. After hours and weekends are paid really, really well. And they always have a nurse on call as well. So if they need a hand with anything, just call up the nurse. She pops in, manages the anaesthetic. So the double benefit of that is the client is really, really happy because their animal gets beautifully looked after. There's no stress. Everything that the vet and the nurse want to do with that animal is done, so that next morning everything's great. You know, the animal's not been kind of first aided and left. Everything is done beautifully. We also share after hours with another clinic. So the after hours time is compacted, and you're not sitting around waiting for your calls for so long. But when you are on call, you're quite likely to get a call, which is really cool because our vets find, because they're well supported, they quite enjoy being on call because it's challenging and they're supported, they get paid well, and that time spent with the nurse is a really good bonding time. They develop that friendship, that understanding of how each other works, and that trust, and it's really great. It's like team bonding on steroids. It's wonderful. We tag team because no vet is on full time. We do a tag team. So on a weekend, if we're on call, someone will do Friday, and then another vet will do Friday night, another vet will do Saturday, another vet will do Sunday, and then back to routine on Monday. So no one's burned out over that time. And that's where we talked about technology and having great systems. Our practice management system it just flows. Like, everyone does the detail, puts in the plan, does all the work, so that the next vet picks it up and goes, yep, gotcha. I know what's going on with this little animal. I'll just take it today and look after it today, and the next one looks after tomorrow. And the clients are told, this is what's going to happen. Dr. Jo will be in tomorrow. She will look after Fluffy. Everything will be fine. And all the diagnostics is in there. Everything's there. It's just great. And it's what we should be doing anyway with our good systems. You know, all that data needs to be there anyway. So the girls just all do it beautifully. And we got, did I say we had lots of templates in there?
No, not yet.
So we've got amazing templates in there so that they're quite consistent with everybody as well. It's really,
so that was, I think it's interesting about the after hours and emergency, because I know it's like quite, in theory, it can be really easy or great to introduce a new process or way of working, but does the contingency plans, do they actually work when an emergency comes in, or does it disrupt things? Like, how do you cater for the unpredictable almost?
Oh, contingency plans are great. Those templates are great. Yeah. Because the girls set them up, so the vets themselves set them up, and they all agree on them. And we're going to have this vet alliance, I'm not sure what they call it, but the vet group that they always get together, so that because they all come in from different places, they've got different experiences, so they have to pull them together so that we all are on the same page, saying the same story. So just say snake bite, a suspect snake bite comes in. So just say we had a new grad or a new vet mum come in that's come back to practice. She can just click in snake bite, and there's the protocol there for her. There's the how to administer the serum. It's what tests she needs to do before she would administer it, who she needs to call if she decides to call the emergency, or even call one of our other vets if she wants a bit of backup on it. But it's beautifully laid out. Yeah, and it's all there, so that you're not going to bed thinking, oh, I wonder if I should have given such and such. It's all there, and it's all kind of priced up so that it all flows through, and the owner knows. You can give them an estimate, and they go, oh, okay, it'll be around that. That's okay, and they can move forward.
The technology's been able to impart the wisdom and knowledge that's needed, and then just has like a streamlined workflow that enables the vet to deal with the situation at hand. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wish I had it when I was out, a young person, any time, like just to have that confidence that someone else has thought of all that when they weren't upset and panicking, and it got the owner crying, and you know how it's all happening after hours or even during hours when everyone's upset, the animal's struggling to breathe. And you just go, I just want a format to work through this so you can stay calm. You go, yep, I'll give it this, and this, and we will move through this. Let's monitor that. The nurses know what they need to monitor, and you know what you need to listen for and watch for. It's just, saves so much stress, honestly. Yeah.
It sounds like it, because I feel like in a situation where you don't have anything to turn to, it's already quite stressful and anxiety inducing. You start to panic a little bit, thinking, oh God, what am I supposed to do here? But when you have things in place that can help support you, and you know the next steps that you need to take, it really reduces the stress, and it saves a whole bunch of time as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. And you know, even like if you have to do an x-ray, like all their nurses are trained up, they'll go and do an x-ray for you. They know how to position it up, but where am I going with that? Everything's done and the information comes back to the practice management system, so you can look at it through there. Your bloods come back through that. You can look at that and build up your picture as you're going along, you know. Yeah. And I was just sort of thinking about talking to you, and I thought about back in the day, and I know I shouldn't talk about back in the day, but it was quite an event for us to send bloods away back in the day, because it'd take 2 days to get to Brisbane. So you'd have to pack it on ice, and then it'd take a day for them to analyse it, and then they'd try and phone you. And so it was like 3 or 4 days before you got any results for your poor little patient. So yeah, technology is wonderful. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say with technology too. Your policies and your procedures, like we document everything, and we've actually got that in our PMS as well. So all our procedures are there. So when we do have someone new, or someone's a bit unsure, or things have changed a little bit, they can pop in there, have a look at the procedure. Like we got a new DR. So if they get a little bit lost with a new DR, haven't used it much, look at the procedure. Oh yeah, that's how I do it. And away they go. They don't have to ask someone or look up the books or watch a video. It's just a nice little detailed thing right there. They can access it and move forward through it. Again, brilliant for someone coming new, because there's so much to learn. You can't put it all in your head. You just can't. You need to have your database so that you can just pop in there, have a look, find out what you need to do. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm of the generation that has sometimes find the internet and computers quite hard, but you just learn so quickly because they're so beautifully designed now. Everything's so what's the word? It's so easy to use. It's intuitive. Yeah. It's just great. Yeah.
So Jocelyn, you recently won an award for being a thought leader from the Australian Veterinary Association business group. That was obviously last year, and I just think it's so fascinating because you've obviously implemented these excellent practices, processes, ways of being for the clinic to operate at a better level, for it to be optimized, and it provides the work-life balance that veterinary staff so desperately need. But it's not just that. It's not just giving them what they deserve. It really does help the practice in that, from a retention point of view, you keep the staff that you have, you reduce the risk of losing them, you mitigate that, and then you just make things a whole lot easier for yourself if you are a practice owner, founder, or practice manager. With your experience and this thought leader lens that you have, what's your view of the future clinical workplace? And we've spoken about technology quite a bit already, but your view of the future, where technology fits in, and what's it going to be like going forward?
Oh, I think it's going to be great, but I really think practice owners and managers just need to get their head around the supply and demand situation that we have. We haven't got a great supply of vets, so we need to start listening to what they actually want. And when we listen to them, they just come up with the most amazing answers and dare I say profitable. They really are amazing. Like for me, they're young minds that know all about the internet. They access so much information all the time, and they put it all together, and they talk to other young minds that are thinking about things in the world. And we should use that. We should use this intelligence and abilities that they have. And I can see flexibility being really well used into the future. I think that's really, really important. And asking them to bring their gifts to you, and that's what I do with ours. Bring your gifts to me. So that some of them are really interested in ultrasound. I go your hardest. Let's go and do some CE, and you just ultrasound anything you want. And they are so good with their ultrasounds now that, you know, they have confidence in them, they diagnose, they do the most amazing medical workups. Clients are happy, animals are saved. And then others are really keen on dental. So, you know, I can see us going, okay, today's going to be a dental day. Dr. such and such will do dentals because she loves doing dentals, and she'll go, yeah, let me add them. I'll do all the dentals. And like for me, I'd say, hey, I would love to just do desexing all day. I would just be happy as. Whereas the others want to do those workups. They want to do the bloods and understand what's going on in their body. I think maybe even nearly a gig economy where I come in and do the desexing, and say Dr. Virginia comes in and does all the dentals, and another doctor comes in and does goes through the medical workshops and sets up plans for the next vet to follow through. So I don't think we have to be everything for everybody. I think we can work together and be really skilled and fantastic in our particular area, and I think that would take a lot of stress out of trying to be good at everything. Yeah. Economy. I love it. I love the idea of it.
It sounds very rewarding, your workplace, but I think it makes sense. You know, you don't want, the thing that causes stress and burnout is if people do have to wear multiple hats and they're doing overtime and they're trying to be everything for everyone. Whereas if they're just sort of special, or not even specializing, but doing the thing that they love, then it's rewarding for them, it's rewarding for you. It's each person bringing their own contributions to the table and are happy about it.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's sensible. Everybody knows the vaccines have to be done and the worm tablets have to be popped in there. They know that. It's not like they're going to go, oh, I don't do that. They're very, very common sense, very practical people. They're great to work with. They totally get it.
Yeah. So is there any sort of final thoughts that you have around the future workplace?
Just talk to each other and listen to each other, and not be so dogmatic about how things should and shouldn't be. And I'll tell you a little story, because the girls came to me and they said, can we close at 5 instead of 6 o'clock in the afternoon? And I went, oh, I don't know. And they said, you know, the kids are getting restless at about 5. They want their dinner. It's just difficult. And a lot of them live a little bit out of town, so they only get home at 6:30 or even closer to 7, which is getting a bit late for little ones. And a few of them have got little ones, and some of them go to sports with their, you know, older kids and stuff. And I went, oh, look, I don't know. Like it's been 6 o'clock on my little sign out the front there, I don't know, for like 30 or 40 years since this clinic's been here. And I thought, oh, Jocelyn, how could you do that? How could you say, oh, no, it can't change because it's always been like this? That's really bad. That's really coming from me. That's terrible. So I said to them, tell me how we could do it. Tell me how it would be okay for High Street, how we wouldn't lose any money, how it would work any better. And they had a little think about it, and they came back and said, we could do a late night on Thursday night. And I went, oh, okay. So that's what we did. And one of the vet mums, she would come in on a Thursday night and have this most amazing shift, because it would be all booked. The other clinic was on after hours, so there's no phones ringing. Everything was booked. She had 2 nurses with her. They had a super night, and the kids were with her, with their dad, and they had a super night. So, you know, just changing things, having some thoughts from someone else. Like, I would not have gone and asked someone, would you do a night clinic for me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know why. But when they come and say, oh, yeah, because, the kid's dad will love that. He'll look after the kids. He's home. I'll sort out dinner. Whatever they need to do, they can do. And she had a super time here. Yeah. With the nurses. And
no, it's fantastic, because it's like, it is challenging the status quo. And just being open to change. It's like you said, things that worked not even 20 years ago. It could be 2 years ago. It could be 1 year ago. And then you have to be open to changing it, because things are not always static and things are not always black and white. Yeah, it's been really fantastic to speak with you, Jocelyn, because I know you've got a lot of credibility and accolades and so much thought goes into your way of working, especially as the workforce has changed itself, with the majority of it being females, as you mentioned. And I think it's critical for us as human beings, not just in the veterinary industry, but to be able to cater to that and the equality of what's needed. So whilst it's great news that there's not a gender gap per se, and not, there's not enough women in this industry. In fact, it's mostly women for the vet industry, but it's the structures have been male dominated. The policies and process have been male dominated. So that needed to change.
Yes, I think it will. Yeah. And exactly what you said before, let's be open to change.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it and try it out. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for your time. We're going to put all the notes, the show notes in with all the references and how people can reach out to you, the articles that you've contributed to. I think it's fantastic. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Kim. That's been very lovely. Thanks for this opportunity. Talk again.
In listening to this episode, I hope you have learned never to underestimate the power of empathy, because that is what has been streaming through Jocelyn through and through. All I've heard is her compassion, because whilst these are not groundbreaking ideas, but they're potentially recycled, but there's also nuanced versions and new ways to look at these ideas. And it's her ability to not just have it in theory, but really, really put this into action. And by listening to her staff, that's where the game changer is. And I think that's what has made her practice, her consultancy, so successful and in a profitable way too. You know, we learned from our last episode with Gemma Barnby from Vet Dynamics, that we shouldn't use or think of profit as a dirty word. But here in our episode with Jocelyn, she validates that, but she also does it in a way that values her staff. You know, it's not sacrificing one or the other. You really can have the best of both worlds for your practice and for your clinic. So you can find the show notes at the bottom of our blog article, at the bottom of this episode. I hope you found it useful. Thanks.